is on time. Ms. Singh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you all hear me?
Yes. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. So glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I'm going to keep it brief. My name is Christopher Kessner. I'm the English teacher and media coordinator over at Williamsburg High School for Architecture and Design. And our students have been working with the architecture firm Robert Stern and Associates since our partnership started around March. And this summer for the SYEP, the students who couldn't be in person because of age constraints, they worked with a group of RAMSA mentors on this design challenge in regards to designing a community center out in your district. So we're thinking about the multitude of perspectives and designing for a group of architects is different than designing for community members and political stakeholders. So we wanted to get your perspective on this, and this is the most I will say, and I'm going to hand it off to Kevin Garcia and the rest of the team. So thank you.
Great. Thank you for this presentation. I'm excited.
Well, good morning, Ms. Singh. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending this year's RAMSA and Williamsburg High School for Architecture and Design Design Challenge. And this took place, of course, this summer. And first, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Kevin Garcia, and I am going to be a junior next year, attending in the fall. And I will leave you on with Richard Hernandez.
Hi, my name is Richard Hernandez, and I'm going to be a junior this year.
Derek Ramos.
Hello, my name is Derek Ramos, and I'm going to be a sophomore next year.
Christian Negron.
Good morning. My name is Christian Negron. I'm gonna be an incoming sophomore this year.
Zayden Diaz.
Hello, my name is Zayden Diaz, and I'm going to be an incoming sophomore this year.
As Mr. Kessner has spoken upon, this is a summer youth employment program, and some is a paid internship program. Here, to choosing a design, we decided we wanted to do a community center due to the fact that we first had different ideas. Some of us had a shelter. Some of that had housing. Others had a soup kitchen and a park. And choosing this, we decided to combine it all together and create a community center. Choosing the site, it was more like just searching around areas, and the site came up just out of nowhere due to the fact that I used to live around East New York, so I traveled around this area. And here we had a collaboration with, as Mr. Kessner spoke, RAMSA. And in this collaboration, we received feedback, we received tools, we received websites and help, such as SketchUp, which is going to see some models coming up in the future. And we also work with Sarkov Velajinkova, and she's a based landscape architecture in California. And here she also provided us with feedback and different collaboration towards our green space area. Say with a contest that I'm going through a project objective, site analysis, case study, different diagrams which are still on progress, and potential next steps. The objective, first and foremost, is revitalization. We want to revitalize this area. You're going to see in the upcoming slides how the area is viewed. And another objective is provide housing for those seniors, veterans, families affected by different economies and more. And very important, we wanted to have environmental remediation, such as help with planting trees and more environmental remediation, so we could at least start lowering carbon dioxide level and produce more oxygen for the air. And our location is located 133rd, 66 Emerald Street. As you can see here in the site, which is located around the North Conduit Avenue and Linden, between North Conduit and Linden Boulevard. And it's located which mall around the new mall created not so long ago around this area. Here we have some site history. Something very important to this site is we notice transportation. So in future terms, we want to have some sort of statue and some sort of connects with transportation. As you can see here, some public transportation used back then in the times were trolleys, trains, and something really happened was fire caused by a train. It was spoken in this newspaper, and also it was encouraging brave women to be encouraged and working on different areas due to the fact that how limited women were back in the days. And you can see in the time loop video here we have an overview of the site changing from the 1930s to 2016. As you can see, started from now on, it's taken from time, and we can see by time that the area has still been a little bit run down, and then it starts evolving and improving, but then again it goes back and it decreases and it starts getting run down again.
Hello. So, going to be the existing conditions of the site currently. The site is very run down and abandoned at the moment. There is constant flooding and gathering of water in the form of puddles around the streets inside the site. The streets surrounding the site are very rough conditions. They're worn out, very broken. There's a lot of overgrown vegetation also inside the site and around. There are an abundance of trucks and cars that have been left in the site, just been left there, trucks, shipment containers, a lot of things like that. Next. This diagram shows using ABC, and ABC on the images shows the diagram with the picture of how it would look like currently. The buildings are either abandoned or residential, the ones inside our site. And the information here, it could help us grasp how a new building can look like if we implement it here, how it would affect the neighborhood and how it would look around the surrounding areas. Next. This is a 3D model view I made in SketchUp. The view on the right is an aerial view of the site. The views on the left are the front. And I just sketched out the perimeter lines, and the buildings surrounding the site, and the buildings inside the site. Next. These views are left and right aerial views of the site. Here you can see the perimeter lines a little bit better, and that breaks it up into the different lots inside the actual lot. Next. And this is the final view, which is the back view of the site, which the buildings are more clear. And I'll be passing it on to Zayden.
So this is a map of the buses near our site. The blue circles represent the bus stops and the lines represent the routes that they take. And here at our site, we have B13, B14, B15, B20, and BM5. Next. And here is a map of attractions and entertainment near our site. The red dots signify the entertainment and attractions. The green dot represents the park. The red dashed line is our site. The blue dashed area and the blue dot represent the mall. The black dot represents the parking lot. And near our site, we have a diner, Walgreens, park, mall, and McDonald's. Next. And then from doing this research, we figured out where we should put our entrance, which is in the southern area, and putting the parking in the northeastern area because they literally already have a parking lot on our block. So we could just renovate that and then include that in our space. And this is a case study of the Louis Armstrong Community Center. The building use is a multi-purpose center that includes after-school programs, summer camps, recreation, college-bound SUNY Attain Lab, drug rehabilitation, senior centers, food pantry, and career pathways. And the building occupants are those in need of the above services. The type of site is urban. The building locations in Brooklyn, New York. It does not specify the building size, the materials, or bricks, and others. The sustainable strategies also does not specify. And I'll pass it on to Christian.
This is a president study of garden landscaping and design. I separated it into 3 different sections, which were theories and the process and the strategy. For the theories, I put garden design is a private space and landscape architecture with public space. With the design of public gardens, the 2 arts overlap. The designing process of a garden only takes about 5 steps to have been completed. The 5 steps are 1, conducting a site inventory and analysis, 2, determining your needs, 3, creating functional diagrams, 4, developing conceptual design plans, and 5, drawing a final design plan. My strategy is that the strategy that we can use for landscaping is it can be informed in 7 different principles. These principles are also known as unity, scale, balance, simplicity, variety, and emphasis, and sequence as they apply to line, form, texture, and color. This creates the pleasing outdoor appearance. I'll pass it on to Richard.
These are some diagrams I found when researching different space types that we would want for a building. I took screenshots of these diagrams because I thought it would help us find out what spaces we'd want in our building. After looking at the diagrams I decided to make a list of the rooms that we thought would be most important. This included spaces like the kitchen and dining area, outdoor space, staff room, private spaces, storage space, lobby, common room, restrooms, shelter, nursery room, office space, and break room.
Here's one of our model diagrams as a sketch as we made. So here is the first thing on this diagram was I wanted to identify was locate the loudest rooms. And as I noticed, the loudest rooms could be potential auditorium, gym, and dining. So we separated that from the educational rooms or the other type of room. Also, the parking lot could be loud sometimes. And I applied feedback provided from RAMSA when it comes to the design of this diagram, and also identify who's going to be using this community center. So after identifying that, I created a senior care, created child care, and then from there on, the break room, the offices, urgent care, so we could provide some sort of medical attention, and janitor's room, and from there on, restroom, also potential library, and educational area. Again, the green space needs more improvement, implementations, as you can see in Zayden's diagram, which are potential benefits and potential uses of our green space.
So this is a SketchUp model I've made of the design they showed right now, and it's to scale, and it's in relative to the other buildings around it, and this is how it would look. I made the green space is just blank, and of course it would actually be green space or park. Maybe that wall would be torn down, but it's in the height limit of the lot we're constructing. The areas, everything is fine with the area, and it's to scale. I'll pass it on to Zayden.
So this is my diagram, and I included the outdoor area with plenty of green space. I included jungle gym, and I also included cabanas for relaxation. There is child care and senior care in the upper left corner in close proximity. And there's the urgent care upon access in case there's an emergency or something like that. There's easy access to the stairwells and the elevators upon entrance, like the urgent care, just to quickly take you to the second floor. There's a large parking lot in the upper right-hand corner. Some feedback is I should add a better scale to my rooms, because if you can see like the other buildings on the blocks, like to the right and to the left, like some of my rooms are very large and some of them are too small. So I can include scales like for that. And also for like something Kevin did that I should have done as well is to include a quiet space, like a quiet and a loud section, because you could see my library and my gym are next to each other. So when I do my next layout, I implement something like that.
This is an image of the second sketch I made. It made some improvements, like making the stairs and elevators more accessible and making the parking space bigger to accommodate more people and cars. There's also a community room for people to go in and, you know, get to know each other and talk about stuff. And there's also a rec room for entertainment.
These are the pros and cons of a garden, of a roof garden or a garden surrounding our building. And so the pros are that it's eco-friendly, it's easy to install, self-sustaining, it provides UV resistance, it has a life expectancy of 20 to 50 years, it can produce crops which you can sell, or in our case, we can use them towards our community center in the kitchen. It provides wildlife support, it looks nice, it improves the drainage system, and it aids air quality. And then the cons of both a roof garden and the garden around our site is that it requires maintenance and repairs, it attracts insects, and there's a chance of getting diseases from the crops. And then the cons of only a roof garden is that it's expensive to build and maintain, it's heavy and it provides strain on the building, and it can get blown away by wind.
After identifying some of the wildlife and pollinators around this area, created goals. So our goal is give wildlife and pollinators a welcoming environment, get rid of those undesirable rodents, and help garden. So think about pollinators and wildlife, they help our garden reproduce. So when it comes to our flower beds and potential planting and farming and crops, we wanted to implement, get those pollinators so it can help implement and help produce the more soil and things like that when it comes to our garden and our potential flower beds.
Since there seems to be a good amount of flooding near the area, I looked up ways on how to prevent flooding and prevent it from damaging the building. While searching for methods, I found that a good way to prevent flooding was to have a rain garden. Since we were already planning on having a garden, it wouldn't be that hard to make a rain garden. And also having plants is good for the environment and will also lessen the greenhouse gases that the building will make.
Some of the potential next steps in design is review the first draft design, modify with the provided feedback received from RAMSA and our fellow partnerships with teachers. And another also of our second floor, which is going to be more towards the housing and sheltering. Also create a final design. The date is still to be determined. Some of the implementations could list of tasks is learn more about the funding sources, generate a community survey. So generate a survey for the people of District 32 and also to get their idea on how a community center will affect the area, and also potential site visits coming up September or in the upcoming years. Also with the site visit, we also wanted to update the images because some of these images could be outdated due to Google Earth. And for future, we wanted to evaluate the project with the adjust as necessary, continue working with RAMSA and Ms. Sarkova, for landscaping and get more involvement. So when it comes to getting more involvement, especially have more connection with District of 32 and the people of this district and potential politics and different stakeholders. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. And any questions or any feedback, any questions?
Yeah, this was such an amazing, I have so many notes. Like, I learned so much about the way you all envision community building. It was really amazing. Thank you so much. I'm really curious to hear what role you think or you all believe a community center has for a community. Like, what's your sole purpose? Because there's so many types of community centers. I have a community center in my platform that I'd love to bring to this district. And a lot of the things that you thought about, I also thought about. Like, for example, when I saw that you had, someone had a rehab center, you have senior care and child care. How did you come up with these ideas for a community center? Because traditionally, community centers don't really tend to have a rehab center, for example. So where is this coming from? I'm curious to hear.
So team, after different case studies, we decided to implement something from each single community center we see around, and something that it's affecting, of course, the communities. So on the research of the community, we noticed that when it comes to senior care, there's a lot of seniors around the area. There's unemployment rates. There's also different types of homeless you see around the area. And from some of these homeless people, some of them are due to drug addictions and things like that. So when it came in play to creating a rehabilitation center, we took in mind the people who attend the community already, the people around there. So implementing things like that and implementing programming with potential partnerships to help provide jobs and care for people. It's like it was depending more like on research that we came up with these ideas.
That's great. That's awesome. And that's so important because we know that centers like a community center really helps rehabilitate everyone, especially our most vulnerable populations like seniors and those who are suffering from substance abuse. So that's really important. And I love that you all incorporated that into your space. The other part of this is the environmental factor that I think is so impressive because we're a coastal district. And so we are prone to flooding and heat, and all parts of our district are impacted from the climate crisis in different ways. So we have a large part of our district is Woodhaven, for example, and Woodhaven that has the heat there causes there's a large air pollution in the area too. So a lot of people are breathing in these tiny particles into their lungs. It can cause asthma and other heat-related issues or air issues from air pollution. And so when you look at things like a roof garden and an area garden around the center, that's really important to help mitigate the climate crisis, especially flooding with the rain garden. I thought that was really great and innovative idea. The other part of this, and I'm not sure if you've learned this from studying with architects, is right now New York City has a new law, well, not a new law, a law that's been in effect for a couple of years and is going to be strategically implemented in the years coming, and that's Local Law 97. And Local Law 97, first let me just check, have you heard of this before?
Well, personally, I haven't, not sure if the team has.
Local Law 97 is a law that mandates buildings of a certain height and a certain parameter to conduct studies of how much carbon emissions that they're putting out into the air, and that impacts our climate crisis. And so if you're not putting out the study and reducing the amount of carbon emissions you're putting out in the air, you get fined. And so I don't know how tall your building is, but we're also looking in City Council to expand this to smaller buildings. So the fact that you're ahead in thinking about how you're going to help mitigate the climate crisis just from the gardens is really important. I think something architects now need to think about a lot more in building spaces is how to reduce carbon emissions with the way that you use electricity, with the way you folks who patron these spaces also play a role in that too. So that's something to look into in regards to building this space too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so mostly we also wanted to get involved, of course, with the feedback that you're providing with us, that so we could potentially improve this presentation, we could improve this study, and what are some more feedbacks you could give us, or any more knowledge when it comes to for us to know about District 32, and of course connection with different sites.
Yeah, so I would say whenever there's development in a community, it's really important to get community voice and community input. That's number one. And I think something you had already said, Kevin, in your presentation was that the Google Earth pictures might be outdated. So it's really important to observe, if any of you can, observe the space. By literally being present, observe who's around the space and why. I think you all did a really great job of doing a survey of the space in regards to what entertainment is around, what food options are around. You saw McDonald's was an option, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that McDonald's is around. Like when we think about food equity, we're also thinking about food inequities are about what is available that's nutritious and healthy for communities and what's not. And the fact that a McDonald's is right nearby tells you about like economic status, it tells you about availability of fresh food, and that your center could be that for so many people, that your garden could be a space where people come and get fresh vegetables. Is it going to be for free, or are people going to have to pay for it? That's like another layer of this question, or just like building and creating space. What you're also doing for a community is you're employing people. You know, your space is a job hub. You have a rehab center, you have a gym, you have a childcare center, a senior center. Those are jobs that could be employable to the entire community, the entire radius of the community. And that is so important. So that's why community voice is so needed in this area for this project. Absolutely. I think me, myself, being that one voice is great, but also talking to community members who live right there on site, talking to small businesses also. You know, if you were to ever ideally come to the area and you see a small business open and you say, hey, you see this vacant space, what have you always envisioned being there? We're thinking a community center. What are your thoughts on that? How do you want to be involved with a community center? And this really helps build in buy-in for community development that's community-led. And that's really important to people, because then that increases community engagement and desire for things like a community center. The other thing I wanted to bring up is taking a closer look at transportation in this area is also really important. You have a lot of buses that really target the Brooklyn area because we're right on the border. The other thing too that our community has been fighting for is a red light and a crossing area between the conduit. You'll see the side that you're on, it's really hard to get to the other side of the community. And it's actually incredibly dangerous for folks to cross the street. So this is something I really want you to think about. And because if folks on both sides of the community want to access the community center, they would have to take a bus or take a car if they don't want to literally risk their life crossing that large conduit. There's no crossing area. We've been fighting for that. And that's something that new developments could be a part of advocating for. Like, hey, we want to put a community center here. Let's get involved with Department of Transportation and see how we can make this more accessible to a lot of different people. So those are my takeaways for you.
Yeah, now that you mention it, of traveling the conduit from Brooklyn Queen, and also the intersection around in the boulevard also that causes a lot of accidents, a lot. So
yes,
now that keep in mind, and also there's no from crossing the conduit from the south conduit to the north conduit. There's no way. It's a lot of green area.
Yep.
It's no type of road or pathways to people across.
We had a young woman, she's 24 years old, her name is Kimberly Ortega, and she unfortunately was struck by a car and lost her life crossing the street, just going to that mall that you referenced to go shop, grocery shop. So we've been fighting for a while, and I think like DOT, the way that our city runs assessments on needs of traffic lights and stoplights and speed bumps is kind of archaic. It's kind of like, let's do an assessment study like every couple of years, and we don't do things that prevent damage or prevent harm. We just respond to harm instead after it's already happened. So these are really important points to have when building something in a community. Like, how can people access it? Who can access it? Is this something only for folks of District 32? Can this community center just be open to anyone, anywhere? And those are questions I hope you're thinking about, because that helps really envision what a space could look like.
And thank you very much. This is amazing. This is some of the things that we expected to hear, and getting involved with a potential district council member. So sounds great. I think that's all.
Well, thank you so much for sharing space with me and sharing this beautiful idea. I really hope maybe one day when we finally get a community center here, you're the folks that I need to call. You're my experts. Okay, so I'll definitely look out for a call so that I could plan this with you. That would be amazing. But I'm really proud of all of you. You did an amazing job, and I really hope that you continue to build and envision spaces that are not being used throughout our city and throughout our communities, and really make them into spaces we can all utilize. This was really great. I also want to leave space if you all have questions for me or any other thoughts before I head out.
Mostly some of the questions that had was already answered, but also for potential future references, keeping in contact for another final presentation. Due to this was just a small presentation we started in July 6th and up to now. So we the team had 1 month to work on, and we potentially wanted to bring this project on to since we're a CTE school, we wanted to bring this project on more during school. So getting involved in more we wanted to get you involved more as a stakeholder. So when it comes to having some sort of meetings or potential more to see the progress and the process that we have made, and keeping connection with you and having that relationship, we will be gladly have some sort of relationship with SYEP and Ms. Singh.
Yes, absolutely. Please, you all have my email address. Utilize it. Ask me questions. If you do happen to actually come in and observe the space, I'd love to, and if I can, come and meet you in person and show you around, or like talk about the spaces or talk to small businesses with you, whatever it is that you want to do when you do actually come to the physical space to see it. But outside of that, please keep in contact with me. I'd love to see the final product. You all did an amazing job, so I'm sure it'll be just as great the next time.
Thank you very much again. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, y'all. Take care. Be well, okay? And be safe.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Oh.
Good job, team. Good job.